Stick with us. We got to go fast.
Oh,
Greg,
yeah.
Greg Dulcich on the intro.
I know, bro. Yeah. You could tell how long we've been doing this if Greg Dulcich is still on the intro. What up there, ABG fam?
What on?
By guest. What up there, guest? How are you there, sir?
All right. Got a busy day. You and I both. And so we're going to go quick today. Not too much chit chat.
Yep. Got to get rocking and rolling, guys.
Remember, if I can do it.
You are. Don't worry. We're going to make it through. Like us and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, X, and Spotify. Always look for those hashtags answered by guests and ABGFF. Week 14, make or break week if you're going to be making the playoffs, if you're going to try to get in. Of course, it's Bye-Mageddon Part 2. So you got 6 teams on bye. Baltimore Ravens, Denver Broncos, Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts, New England Patriots, and the Washington Commanders. Any of those guys in your lineups, get them the heck out. What did you think of the game on Thursday? I know you want to go quick, but at least mention it.
Yeah, it was good. I liked Christian Watson. He did what I thought he would do a few weeks ago when they played. Unfortunately, it was like a monsoon, so it didn't happen. He kills Detroit, so that's something to keep in mind for next year, unless they change things. And if he didn't fumble, I feel like on that first 29-yarder that he had, or 26, whatever it was, I feel like, Green Bay would have had a better shot, but you need a touchdown there at the end, but probably Detroit would have scored a touchdown anyway. So they're just a better team, and you can't throw 7 passes in the first half and beat the Detroit Lions.
100% true on that. And Campbell, man, what a set of cojones, man.
Yeah, sure.
He just goes for anything and everything, it seems like, but didn't bite him in the butt this time.
Nope.
So, all right, jumping into the first game here. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Tennessee Titans. Jacksonville, obviously, Trevor Lawrence got rocked. What a shot. I mean, I see where people are coming from. He slid a little late. Again, just a weird situation. But Mac Jones looks better with this team, I feel like, than Trevor Lawrence does. So how is that going to affect anything as far as the wide receivers and the running backs? Talk about that. And then from the Tennessee side, Westbrook-Akine just keeps on scoring touchdowns, but that's the only guy who's scoring touchdowns. Calvin Ridley revenge game. Does that play into this at all? Being at home against this Jacksonville team that, again, plays better with Mac Jones as their quarterback.
Yeah, it's a short-lived revenge. He was only with Jacksonville for a year, but still, it's there. I like Ridley today. I feel like I said it last week, and it didn't come true. Obviously, you had 2, but Ickine there, sooner or later, he's going to regress to the mean. But unfortunately, his mean is 50% of my catches are going to be a touchdown. You use them with a Bye-Mageddon, of course, and with injuries if you have to. But I do like Ridley a little bit more in this one. I think Tennessee's going to run on the ground more often. I like Levis, though, because you can beat Jacksonville through the air. Parker Washington is one of my favorite bye-week fill-ins this week. I'm using them in 3 leagues, 3 out of my 5. He's their number 2, and Mac Jones, liked him last week. It's him and Brian Thomas, and I guess you could call him number 3 if you say Evan Ingram. It's tough to run against Tennessee. Bigsby is a use if you have to. Most people probably are going to use ETN as well. So hopefully they can catch some passes. But this is a game where I feel like Tennessee should be able to control this game. I like the Tennessee defense as well.
All right, going on to the next one here. My New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins. Jets came out exploding last week and then filtered out, came back to being the same old Jets again. Breece Hall being out. I'm seeing questions about Allen. Am I picking up Allen? I like Davis, to be honest with you, more of a pickup for this week. But what are we thinking as far as that? Also, Lazard comes back. Does that play into anything as far as Garrett Wilson or Devontae Adams. And then on the flip side, Miami can move the ball. They actually had a pretty good game. Your boy Jonnu is just going off. He seems to be the favorite target nowadays. Green Bay did beat up on him last week, but the Jets defense has not been anything like it. Are we starting every Miami Dolphin? And Mostert banged up. Does that give Wright anything to look at?
Yeah, Miami last week, that was I don't know, aberration, I guess. I feel like since Tua came back, they've been rolling. They can't play in the cold weather. They couldn't change the narrative. I was a little worried about it. I said it when we did the pre-Thanksgiving show. But I guess there was nothing to worry about. And I like the Dolphins at home here to possibly obliterate the Jets. I don't think the Jets defense is going to be able to stop them. I feel like Tyreek is just, I thought maybe it would happen last week, but again, the cold weather, I feel like he's just ready to blow. It's been
out too.
Yeah, it's been Jonnu, it's been Waddle, and we're just waiting for a Tyreek one. And I kind of feel like it could be here. Everybody that owns Achane, we cross our fingers for one more time. You mentioned Jalen Wright. Well, him and Mostert have been in this sort of who's the number two. It really doesn't matter. Achane dominates it all. The other two kill each other. So I'm not playing either one of them. I know you can run all over the Jets, but you're going to play Wright and Mostert's going to do something. You're going to play Mostert and Wright's going to do something.
I think Mostert's out or questionable of playing this game. So
last I knew he was questionable, but he was going to be good to go. But unless that changed or changes while you're watching this before game time, then adjust accordingly. And as far as the Jets go, the Lazard thing, sure, he's back. That's going to help. Miami defense is quite a bit better at home. Aaron Rodgers should retire. He won't go down easily. And you mentioned Davis. I feel like Abanikanda could actually be a little bit better.
He's on San Francisco now, buddy.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, they dropped him and 49ers.
Oh my God. Shows what I know.
Well, from that, but dude, to be honest with you, this is the perfect spot for Izzy. This would have been the perfect spot if Breece Hall being out, but the Jets are always a week behind, a guy too short kind of deal.
Shows what I know. Because I was thinking Breece Hall out. This is Izzy.
Yeah.
But you know what? Braylon Allen is the start, and it really doesn't matter. And if you're playing Davis, you're I feel like in the bottom of the barrel.
You're scraping at the bottom.
I think that they're going to run Braylon Allen as much as they possibly can. They'll sprinkle in their Davis like they did last week, and he looked okay. Pretty good, actually. But I think Braylon Allen is the perfect play in this one. I think the Dolphins are going to just slaughter them. I think what you said, the Jets, I thought they were going to blow them out last week. And then lo and behold, Jets going to jet.
Sure, true, man. It's so tough being a fan.
I didn't know Abanikanda was on the Niners.
Dude,
when did that happen?
They dropped him. They picked him up off of waivers, and now he's the number 2 behind Garendo. I picked him up in Dynasty as a just in case.
I didn't even know that.
All right. Going to a lot of turkey. That's what it is the last couple weeks or last week and a half. All right. Atlanta Falcons at the Minnesota Vikings. Revenge game again. Now, this is a bigger revenge game. Kirk Cousins looking like absolute poop last week. Bijan was your guy. This Atlanta Falcons team, I don't know about playing my players. Kyle Pitts, another 0 game. It's like, obviously, he hasn't been the greatest this season, but there are times that he shows up. Drake London seems to be the most consistent with Bijan. Are those just your guys that you're playing? And would you start a Kirk Cousins on the bye Mageddon part 2? And then the Vikings, they can't run the ball. Their passing isn't the greatest, but yet they keep on pulling out wins, which is just something that can they do the same exact concept? And who are you playing from the Vikings comfortably against this Falcons defense that has been showing up?
Well, now that everybody's turned us off because I thought Izzy Abanikanda was that's why like this whole week, like people are talking about Davis. Well, yeah, he looked good last week, but I feel like Izzy Abanikanda is going to be the one that really benefits from Hall being out. But I don't know what I'm doing.
It happens, brother.
Where are we and who are we?
Answers by guess. Inside scoop from outside the box, baby.
And I don't even know where guys play. But revenge game, you said it. Kirk Cousins going against the Vikings. he's a shell of himself. He's not even the same guy. He just looked like he couldn't throw the ball at all last week. And unfortunately, that's the only way that you're going to be able to keep up, if not beat Minnesota. You're not going to be able to run on them. You got to play Bijan, but boy, is it going to be tough. You're going to see a ton of him and a ton of Algier. Kyle Pitts has completely disappeared. The one guy I like in this game, and I like as a prop play, is Ray McLeod. He doesn't go away, and he runs those short routes, and that's about as far as Kirk Cousins can throw the ball. So I really like him in this one. You got to play London, of course. You're probably playing Mooney. Listen, if Cousins can muster up enough arm strength to get the ball at least a little bit downfield more than he has the past week or two, they'll be able to compete. And I think the Vikings are going to be able to do whatever they want. I think this is going to be a huge Justin Jefferson game. I think that everybody's been waiting for it. I think this is it. Not worried about the coverage on him at all. I feel like they're going to pepper him early and often. It's going to be a huge game by him. You play your other names, your Hawkinson. For a while there, I was liking Cam Akers a bit better than Aaron Jones. I'd be worried if I was Aaron Jones after those couple fumbles last week. So this could be a game where if Minnesota does take control of this early on, you're going to see a lot more Cam Akers than you are Aaron Jones. And it's not going to be good heading into the fantasy playoffs if you're playing Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones, you got lucky with the touchdown last week. Otherwise, he did poop. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. So we got to see what happens there. I think it was funny, like the quarterback, Aaron Jones, and Cam Akers all had like the same yardage or something like that as far as rushing last week. So interesting stuff. All right, going on to the next one here. New Orleans Saints or whatever players are available against the New York Giants. Keandre Miller is back. Yeah. They set him up off IR. How does that affect Kamara owners? And then who the heck is Derek Carr actually throwing to? Taysom Hill lost last week. Juwan Johnson seems to be the biggest pickup that I'm seeing, at least from a Saints perspective. Are you thinking the same thing? And then on the flip side, Neighbors is going to be limited if he does play. Drew Lock was the leading rusher. Can you play any Giants? Even against these Saints defense that really can't do much either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I like so far I've got Jefferson, Ray McLeod, and I like Juwan Johnson as a prop play today as well. With no Taysom Hill, he's going to absorb all of those tight end snaps. And Kendre Miller, you mentioned, he's not somebody you can play, but he's coming back from the IR. He's going to be another body in there. Will they run two backs out there at the same time? Because Kamara's not coming off the field very often. I feel like they're getting a lot of their guys back. MVS is competing with Ickheim there for who can score more touchdowns on less passes. But I feel like Tipton and Bub Means, I think they're all coming back this week. So they will have a full, for lack of a better term, complement of wide receivers. There's going to be people to throw to. And the Giants are just a shell of themselves. Is Theo Johnson coming back?
IR.
Okay, so is season ending?
Season ending.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay. Yeah. I knew it had been close to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I felt like
they put him on IR this week.
Okay. So, so Theo is out. So is that going to be our boy Bellinger? He could be a sneaky little prop play because he looked fine before Theo showed up last season as a rookie. And Drew Lock likes his tight ends in past years. Dolchich, speak of the devil. For the Giants, what do? Tracy, Neighbors, I think you still have to play him. Wandale, Slayton could get deep on him. This is a game I would look to avoid, but if you're in tight end straits, it's Juwan Johnson. Of course, you're going to play Kamara.
Tracy. All right. Yeah, Tracy would probably be the other option. I agree. If you have to, again, with the bye getting, you kind of have to fill in
Yeah.
those roster spots. All right, going on to the next one here. Carolina Panthers at the Philadelphia Eagles. There may be some wind in this game. It looks like at least gusts 15 plus from what I was seeing. Carolina coming off another good game since Bryce Young has come back out of and taken over for Dalton. I think he's a totally different quarterback. He looks like a number one pick again. My boy Thielen looking like Thielen of old, but whenever he's in the game, I feel like Young plays better. He feels more confident. He knows there's somebody there. Is Thielen a start this week for somebody? And then Chuba, obviously, you can keep on rolling with him. Brooks got a little bit more love. How are we seeing that backfield going to be working out? On the flip side, Philadelphia played good for 2 quarters, I felt like. There was the second quarter and the fourth quarter is where they actually showed up. Those other 2 quarters, Carolina defense has been playing well. They obviously lost to Tampa last week, but do we see Philadelphia beating up on this Carolina Panthers team to try to make it a get-right game going closer and closer to the playoffs? And who are we playing if so?
Yeah, I'm not a Philly hater. And as much as I love to root for the underdog and really want Carolina to look good and put a stamp on the season at this point, be like, this is where we turn around. I just feel like Philly's going to absolutely slaughter them. This just seems like a game where Carolina's had a few weeks. The Kansas City one, they had a couple wins mixed in there. And then last week with Tampa, they almost won it, had to go to overtime. And it just feels like the public is going to be like 14 points going into Philly. I'm all over Carolina, and it just seems like one where Philly's just going to go squash and just win this one by 20 plus and just be in control from the beginning. Saquon Barkley has his eyes set on Eric Dickerson, and this is a game where he could run for 200 yards. Yeah. He's got the worst rush defense. The wind gusts aren't going to matter. And the problem is going to be is if Saquon runs all over him, if Hurts runs all over him, if he throws a few short passes to A.J. Brown or Calcaterra and they bust it to 15, 20-yard catches because of the wind, if the wind even matters, they're going to get downfield. They're going to tush push. They're going to score, and they're going to be up 2+ scores, and Carolina's going to have to throw the ball, and the wind is going to affect them then because when they're playing catch-up and the wind is making things difficult, Thielen, Leggett, I think Coker is even back. It's going to affect them. And is Jatavian going to play this game as well?
I saw that he was questionable still, but let me take a look.
But either way, the people that are going to benefit are the backs, Brooks and Chuba, because it's going to have to be short passes if the wind comes into play. And listen, I really want Carolina to keep this close. I would love to see Carolina win. I'm not a Philly hater. I just feel like this is one where the public's going to be all over Carolina and those tons of points, and Philly's just going to smoke them. And this one's not even going to be a contest 2 quarters in.
Sanders is questionable and more of a game time decision, it looks like, but trending seems like in the right way.
I think the one guy that you can't play is Devonta Smith, because he's the deep ball guy. And if the wins matter, and if they do get in a huge lead, they're not going to be taking too many shots to him.
It's funny. This one game was at 45.5 opening, and it stayed that. And I'm like, why is it so high? I mean, but Carolina's been scoring. I think you're right. I think Philly is going to show up and just put a beating on, and it could be a very one-sided game very quickly.
I could see it like a 31 or 34-13, something like that. This one's just, I just feel like it's going to be ugly just because it's just the way it goes. It's the way it goes.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to this one here. Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers, also another game that's going to have some wind gusts and stuff like that. But these 2 offenses exploded last week. Going up in Pittsburgh, Cleveland tends to play Pittsburgh pretty well. Jameis Winston coming off of a 500-yard game, a typical Jameis Winston game that we've seen. 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. But you know what? He proved that Jerry Jeudy can do something against Denver, and that's what I think the point was, is that, listen, guys, you guys had somebody here. Does that same thing work out for them? Tillman out again. Does Elijah Moore see some more love? And then talk about the running game, because I'm I don't know who it is. I don't know. Can we feel comfortable starting Chubb? Could we feel comfortable starting Ford? I'm between Chubb and Elijah Moore, to be honest, in one league. And then on the flip side, Najee seems to be the guy. They put up tons of points again. We're seeing Russell Wilson putting up tons of yardage. But again, it's like it's being spread around. It's Pickens and Freiermuth are the head ones. But I want to say there was like 13 guys that caught balls last week. Does that change anything as far as how what players were playing in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy with the revenge game of all revenge games of all time.
230 something yards.
There will never be a better revenge game than that. I remember I had the prop and I think it was like 37.5. And I was like, man, I should have taken it. Like halfway through, I'm like, man, I should have taken it over 97. The odds were astronomical. And then he goes over 200. And I'm like, oh my gosh, who even knows? You probably could have put $1 down and won 5,000 if you said over 200 yards. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was great to see. The wind you mentioned, if there's one person the wind's not going to matter to or scare from whipping it around, it's Mr. Winston.
I picked him up. I'm starting him in the league this week.
And when did he become so hilarious? Like, when did he become so weird, right?
He's always been like that.
Yeah, but I don't remember it being this bad.
He's out there.
Before that game in the snow, like when he was like just staring off into space, like, man, I'm just so excited to play in the snow. And it's just like, when did this guy become this eccentric?
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. And, I hope that somehow they can get out of the Deshaun Watson business and just make Winston the guy. I feel like he's proven he loves it there. He's proven he can lead this team to victories, even though last week he threw the interception that ended it. He's proven that, we can go against tough teams and we can get this done. And we've got good enough pieces. And speaking of those pieces, continue to roll with them. The Pittsburgh defense is tough, but I would dare to say they're not as good as Denver's defense. As the season was going on, Pittsburgh was the number 1 D. I think Denver overtook them in my estimation. And so I'm going to say if Cleveland could go toe-to-toe with Denver, I think they can go toe-to-toe with Pittsburgh. So I think there's going to be more points here because the Cleveland Brown defense has been suffering and Pittsburgh's offense has been firing on all cylinders. Calvin Austin is healthy. He's playing. He catches a couple balls and a touchdown every week. I love it. So I'm playing as many people as I can, and George Pickens is going to play, it says. So this should be a fun one. And he says, Greg Newsome, who? I don't even know who that guy is. So that's going to be fun watching these two go at it. As far as the running backs go, I love me some Jaylen Warren in this one. You got to play Najee, of course. And Ford and Chubb are the same guy right now in my mind. And how crazy is that? Like it needs an older and not even really so much, but look older, battered Nick Chubb to stoop down to a Jerome Ford level, right? But they don't use Ford enough. But by Mageddon, with injuries, you can use them this week for sure. It's going to be very tough against Pittsburgh, but they like them in the pass game.
Yeah, and what's funny is that Chubb didn't get the ball mostly in the first half. It's the second half where he kind of came on and after he got his receptions and stuff like that. They had Ford in the game. They're like, all right, we're going to give him the opportunity because just Chubb, he was running into the line and not going anywhere.
And that's what I thought was going to happen 2 weeks ago, which is why I had the Jerome Ford props. But no, they didn't give him the ball. They just kept giving it to Chubb, who's doing nothing. Ford gets one ball, runs 10 yards. Go back on the bench. So, of course, always a week early. That's the way life goes.
Sure is, man. All right, going on to the last 1 o'clock game here. Las Vegas Raiders at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Raiders game, they got, again, Kansas City comes out with the win. But you know what? From the Raiders' perspective, Aiden O'Connell looked great. He played very well. And, I mean, Brock Bowers obviously the guy. Myers banged up, but he played very well as also. Sincere, the pickup of the week, I feel like everybody's asking about Sincere. Madison and Zamir White are both out again, so it looks like it's going to be Sincere and Abdullah. Are you comfortable starting both those backs against Tampa Bay, who tends to give up points? It seems like, again, Carolina played well against them last week, but Bucky Irving being banged up. How does that affect Tampa Bay? It looks like he is going to play, but are you comfortable starting your guys in Tampa if Bucky's not the lead back?
Yeah, they said that Madison looks like he's not going to go after some optimism that he would. I really like Sincere McCormick in this one. They like him too. He's been the most effective Raider running back all year, and he's only really played the last 2 games. They signed him off the practice squad sort of out of necessity because they had to, because they elevated him 3 times. You can only elevate him and send him back 3 times, and they did that, so they had to re-sign him. But I think they would have anyways. And he's actually somebody who I'd be looking at in dynasty leagues if he's sitting out there. You pick him up because this is the Zamir White of last year. And a lot of people picked up Zamir White around this time last year. He went up, he blew up, he went off, he blew up. And this year it amounted to diddly poo. But I feel like it's going to be sort of a repeat of that. And I really like him. You can run on the Bucks. We always thought the Bucks have really good rush defense, but if you look at them the past month and a half, 2 months, people have been running all over them, even with Vita Vea there. So I think that they're going to be able to run on Tampa Bay. And Aiden O'Connell looked good last year, which I was very surprised at why it was such turmoil and bringing in Minshew and all the other stuff, because he looked serviceable as a rookie last year. And I know that there were some injuries here and there, but I feel like if they would have just kept him in from the start this year, I think that you'd see an even more developed Aiden O'Connell. But what you can do, definitely, we talked about running on the Bucks. You could definitely throw on the Bucks. I love Mike Evans. He's a prop for me today as well with his receiving yards. Ever since he's come back, Baker just loves looking at him. I think Bucky's going to be fine. He'll be able to run all over him. You might see a little more Tucker today than you would like. But you're going to play Bowers. I think Myers is going to be okay. This is a game I think there's going to be sneaky a lot of points. But Sincere McCormick, I think I've been recommending him to a lot of people. And I think with Madison being out, I think it's just so much easier to even play him.
Yeah. Hey, it's funny. I'm looking at DFS. Trey Tucker has like 1.5 receptions or something like that. That's something I'm looking at. He did have the one big play last week. I think that kind of may open things up, and we'll see the Trey Tucker that we saw at the end of last year, where he started getting sprinkled and starting to get some more of those bigger shots. So something that I
like that
from DFS. So
1.5 is good.
I think it was 1.5 the last time, that I saw. So all right, going on to the next one here. 4:00 game. Seattle Seahawks at the Arizona Cardinals. Mentioned the Jets before, imploded. Kenneth Walker out. So Charbonnet being talked about everywhere. Anybody else we should be thinking about from the Seahawks perspective besides Charbonnet in the running game? And then DK and JSN are the same player. They're totally different, obviously, but they seem to be constantly close to each other as far as receptions and yardage. Those are your two guys that you're starting. Anybody else we should be thinking from Seattle standpoint? And then Arizona, Trey McBride just can't get in the end zone, but they love him. They just keep on feeding him the ball, it seems like, as of late. Marvin Harrison had the touchdown last week. I'm just so confused with the Cardinals. I don't know what type of team they are, and I don't know who's showing up every single week. What are we thinking as far as from a Cardinals perspective?
They're way better at home. Way better at home.
Yeah.
And this game, I think, was 2 weeks ago. They played each other, and a lot of people thought it would be high scoring. It wound up having some weather and high scoring. It was not. I think this one's going to be. I think it's going to be a sneaky game this week, where a lot of people are looking at 2 weeks ago and being like, these two teams played 2 weeks ago, and they weren't very good. And I think it's going to be a complete flip. I think you're going to see a big game out of all three. Yeah, that includes Tyler Lockett, wide receivers for Seattle. I think Michael Wilson's going to splash in this one. I love Marvin Harrison. He's actually another prop that I'm taking today. His receiving yards. Trey McBride, I said it last week. I say he gets his first receiving touchdown. He did not, but he had a huge game. He gets it this week. This is the one. I was a week early, I'm going to say, and hopefully I didn't just push that week.
Another week.
Week 15. And you know what? Connor Benson's coming on, man. So you got to play Connor, but if you're in dire straits, I mean, Benson, I feel like is a pretty good play here. And I love I don't love that he's out, and I'm sorry for people that own Kenneth Walker, but I love that Charbonnet is going to get another shot. And you know that whenever he's the only one in town, he always kills it. So what he is, he rounds out what I did in DFS. And I probably shouldn't say this, but unless you're playing in the same contest as me, it doesn't matter. But Braylon Allen, Garendo, and Charbonnet, those are my 2 RBs and a flex in my DFS lineup. And it allowed me to have an elite group of wide receivers, elite tight end, and elite quarterback, as well as one of the best defenses. So I've got a killer DFS lineup using 3 backup running backs that are really cheap in good positions. So if you're setting a lineup, I mean, Garendo's still cheap. They didn't adjust. Braylon Allen's cheap and Charbonnet's cheap. And then just fill in with the stud wide receivers, QBs, tight ends. That's what I did this week. We'll see if it pays off. But I love all 3 of them, those running backs. So
great concept, dude. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, going on to another game here. Buffalo Bills at the Los Angeles Rams. Oh, you know what's up? Hey, what's up, Marty? Sorry, didn't see that one, bud.
What's up, Marty?
All right. Buffalo coming off of a big win. Snow game. Allen catching touchdowns and throwing touchdowns on the same play. Unbelievable. Pretty cool. Buffalo, obviously, a different situation now against the Rams. Everybody you play for Buffalo, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. But who's everybody? Let's talk about that. And then from the Rams side, Kupp he didn't have a great game. Is this an ebb and flow game? Do they now get Kupp more involved since Puka went off a little bit? Kyron, obviously, you're playing. I like that Blake Corum's getting some more love. I have him in Dynasty. Do we start seeing a little bit of a change? Do we start seeing some more Blake Corum to keep Kyron Williams healthy?
Yeah, you can run on the Bills, and Matt Stafford's better at home. And early in the week, I saw this game, and I feel like the Rams are going to be able to beat the Bills. And I think they're going to do it. And yesterday morning rolls around, I had this feeling. I don't know where it came from. Felt like Justin Timberlake. Had that feeling in my body. And I was like, the Bills are going to slaughter them. I feel like this number is low, and I feel like it's a Vegas trap. I feel like it's taking a lot of people to take the Rams. It's like 3 points, 3.5.
3.5.
I think the Bills are just going to I feel like they're just rolling right now. I think they're going to dominate the Rams. The Rams seem a little broken. Kupp is running around like he's 79 years old. And it's Puka and it's Kyron trying to do the best of what they could do. They've got to throw in the Tutu and the D-Rob and all these other guys. And I just feel like Buffalo feels it right now. I feel like their defense has become one of the best in the league out of nowhere. A lot of us thought that their defense was going to take a step back this year. We felt like their offense might take a step back this year without Diggs there. And they're just getting stronger and stronger each week. And I just think this is a game where they're trying to lure you into thinking that the Rams have a shot. And I thought the Rams were going to win this game until about yesterday morning. I was just like, you know what? I just feel like Buffalo's just going to dominate them. They've got all their weapons back. I think Keon Coleman's playing.
He's trending to play.
Shakir's going to do fine. Cooper hasn't done.
Kincaid's out.
Okay, yeah, but Knox is a perfect.
He played well. Yeah.
It's the exact same player. And Cooper's going to be playing, and he's almost pretty much full strength now. And I just think coming off that snow game and the way that it ended, it'd be one thing if it was West Coast going to East. I don't mind the East Coast going to West. This is just going to be like a night game for the Bills, pretty much. So it's I love them all. You got to play your names in this one, but I just think if you're on the betting side of this, again, I thought the Rams had a shot. But I feel like if you go back and you look at the Rams schedule, like the Packers went into town and a couple other teams, and like the Bills are better than the Packers. And you look at the teams the Rams have lost to in Los Angeles, like the Bills are way better than all of those teams. And I just think Bills are on a mission. They want that 1 seed. All they have to do is have Kansas City slip up once, and they don't slip up at all. I don't think they take their foot off the gas. I love Buffalo today as a play.
All right. Let's go to the last 4.
Real quick. I think Ray Davis is somebody who a lot of us are going to want to play. It's just a matter of will they play him enough? And if they get out to a big lead, they will. Because Cook is not coming off the field until they're dominating. And Ray Davis had an early touchdown last week, and then Cook just blew up from there. But I feel like in this one, I think once they get up big, then you're going to see a lot more Ray Davis.
It's funny. I remember, I think it was a question last week. Somebody had asked Ray, and I was talking about Ray Davis the entire time. And both Rays ended up being pretty damn good last week.
They did.
All right, going on to the last 4 o'clock game here. Chicago Bears at the San Francisco 49ers. Caleb Williams actually played well. It feels like so long ago, Thanksgiving Day, but it's like Keenan Allen played well. DJ Moore played well. It's like this team's finally starting to get what we thought the Bears should have been earlier in the season with all the weapons that they had. Now the run game's in shambles.
Yeah.
Swift looked like he's playing, but Rojon's out. Who's going to be taking that second role now as far as from the Bears? And are we comfortable playing all of our wide receiver, including a Doomsday? But he's kind of fallen off, it seems like, from the rookie connections. And then on the flip side, we talked about San Francisco got the crap kicked out of him. Brock Purdy didn't look good. Obviously, McCaffrey's out now. Guerrero, you had called as one of your DFS plays. We were talking about Izzy being picked up now. Does that change anything as far as from a Guerrero standpoint? And are you comfortable starting any of their wide receivers, to be honest with you?
Yeah.
Kittle seems to be the only pass catcher that I would because of the tight ends, your quarterback's best friend.
Right. You can run on the Bears. It's tough to throw on the Bears. I'm playing all 3 of the Bears wide receivers, especially in By-Mageddon. Travis Homer is going to be one of those running backs, and they signed your boy, Darrington Evans. Darrington Evans is going to be playing today. So I caution the Travis Homer play today because of that. Darrington Evans has history with the Bears. Homer's brought over from Seattle. So I feel like with Darrington Evans being in the mix with whatever happens or goes on with Swift, I feel like you might see more Darrington Evans than Travis Homer, to be honest, today. So we'll see. But I do think that they'll try and beat him through the air. You'll see a little bit of Kmet today as well. So I'm fine with everybody on the Bears because I think this is the last stand for the 49ers. And they're still alive for the playoffs. They're still alive for the division. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And they're probably the last team that people want to sneak in as a wild card or a division winner, I should say. And take that number 4 seed. But the wide receiver is going to be tough for them. Juwan Jennings, Debo, it's going to be tough because the Bears are good against wide receivers on the outside. Debo, you're only saving grace is if they use him over the middle. Same with Jennings or in those little end arounds that we talked about so much. But Guerendo's the play, Kittle's the play. This is one where you got to play the guys, but I could see it being a little more low scoring. But we'll see because both these teams have offensive firepower. And last week's 49ers was not, it was in the snow. It was like, you can't.
Totally different game.
It's a West Coast warm weather team playing in that atmosphere. It's never going to work. Never going to work. Especially against the best team in the league, the Bills, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Bills right now are on a totally different level. I'm not supposed to like Josh Allen, but I'm starting to like him more. I hated to say it. I'm being a Jets fan. It's like it's swing and a miss again. You got Darnold that week, that year instead of Josh Allen. Who would have known Josh Allen would have been this? But
nobody.
Dude,
you actually probably would have drafted Josh Rosen before Josh Allen.
I agree. Yeah, exactly. And look where Rosen is now.
Yeah.
All right, Los Angeles Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs Sunday Night Football. Chargers don't have offense, but they still win games. So. McConkey's banged up, though. Seems like he's a game-time decision. He's the only one that did anything last week with Herbert. Mm-hmm. The run situation is, I don't know. Who's it going to be? Is it Vidal? Is it Gus Edwards? Is it somebody else that we're not even talking about? talk about what we think as far as the Chargers, especially if McConkey is out. Who do we trust as far as catching the ball? Because Johnston's not that guy, it seems like, anymore again. And then Kansas City got lucky again last week.
Yeah.
Equal splits between Pacheco and Hunt, but Pacheco was the clear favorite to actually do anything. And then the ball's being spread around to everybody. Are we comfortable starting all of these Kansas City Chiefs pass catchers nowadays? They're your top 3 or 4.
Yeah, this game is going to be a tight to the vest type of game. I think they're going to try and establish the run on both sides. Both secondaries are pretty solid. Aside from, I guess, Hopkins and Kelsey, mediocre talent at the wide receiver position. McConkey is the best rookie wide receiver, but at this point in his career, he's a mediocre talent. And two really solid defenses. It's going to be a close one. I like the Chargers +4. They have a shot to win this one. They're a good team. Chiefs have almost lost to not good teams, and the Chargers are a really good team. I can see the Chiefs winning by a point or two, as they've been doing. And the Chargers dominating throughout. And when I say dominate, I just mean having the lead like a 7-3, 10-7, and then it turns to 14-13, 17-13, and then all of a sudden the Chiefs, and then it's 20-13, and then all of a sudden it's 21-20 final, Chiefs win. So
yeah.
I can see that this is the way it's going to go, Sunday Night Football. I'm not a Chiefs hater. I typically don't like when teams win all the time. I don't hate them. But I'll be rooting for the Chargers, and it's by Mageddon, and there's injuries, and you're playing McConkey, obviously. Your boy, Disley, he did nothing last week. He'll do something this week.
Mr. Dizzle.
Yep, and Quentin Johnston, if you absolutely have to, sure. The running game is going to suffer. They need to use Vidal more. They refuse to. He gets a couple carries each and every game. It's going to be tough on the Chiefs no matter what. But Gus looks like a shell of himself. He was always a plotter, but he looks extra slow and nothing this year to me. And as for Kansas City, you continue to just Worthy this week is Worthy. D-Hop, Noah Gray's a sneaky one. But sooner or later, Kelsey's going to start catching 2 touchdowns on a few passes, and Gray's not going to get those lucky TDs. So Pacheco's taking it over. Hunt is a risky play this week because of that. I feel like you're going to see a lot more Pacheco this week than you did last week.
All right. Let's go on to the last game here. Cincinnati Bengals at the Dallas Cowboys. A very interesting one I'll start with is that this is going to be in Simpsons mode for the kids. It's going to be on Disney Plus or ESPN Plus.
Cool.
So it's going to be a cartoon version of this game. I'm going to check it out with my boys to see if they're interested in like it. Yeah, so definitely something to throw on. But Cincinnati Bengals are the best, worst team ever. They literally have no luck every single week. There seems to be something. The game was closer than it looked as far as going into the fourth quarter. I know they scored a couple touchdowns and brought it closer, but I'm comfortable starting all my offensive players. I feel like the top 4: Burrow, Brown, Higgins, Chase. I think that's no matter what. Anybody else we should be looking at, even from a by Mageddon standpoint. And then Dallas, Dowdle is the now clear back. Are we comfortable starting Dowdle? Lamb had an off game. Cooks is back, but does that really mean anything? Schoonmaker became Schoonmaker again. What are we thinking as far as who we starting in Dallas?
Yeah, well, I think that there's going to be a ton of points scored here, and I think the Dallas might end the Bengals season. Yeah, I know. I just have a feeling that in Dallas, I just feel like that it just might happen. I think it'll be so many points, and I just think that their defense is better than the Bengals. With Parsons back, if Diggs plays, overshot. I just feel like that their defense is better than the Bengals. And I think this is going to be a back and forth, a lot of points scored. But I think the Dallas defense is just going to make one or two more plays than the Bengals defense does. Dowdle, I guess, and by Mageddon, sure. He had his good game last week, but that was something that I saw coming. I said it's going to happen against the Giants, and it did. And we'll see. Against the Bengals, they're easier to throw on than run on, but you could run on them. So you know who looked pretty good for them was Mingo. They finally got Mingo into the game, and he looked pretty good. Was running some pretty good routes. So he's somebody who I'll be looking at on Monday night, and if he's got like a 1.5 reception, I know they got a ton of different options. Ferguson's going to be back. So there goes. And we talked about the Schoonmaker or Shoonmaker. And I thought about school, SCH. So maybe that's sort of where schedule, SCH. So maybe that's where the Schoon comes from. It's like the H is silent. And it doesn't create that little whatever that's called, digraph or whatever, 2 letters that make a ch sound. So whatever. Or the
featuring you coming out, I love it.
Okay, Schoonmaker works if that's what it is. I'm still not convinced it is Schoonmaker, but if it is, it at least makes sense. But all the while, we don't have to worry about him or Bradford, whatever that double name was. I don't want to ever think about him again. Ferguson is back. Kind of like Mingo, you're not playing him this week because Tolbert's there, because Cooks is there, but really it's CD and what's his face, Dowdle, if you have to, and then like you said, all the Bengals, the 4 names, the 4 big ones, sure.
All right, looks like Marty had a question here. Yep. A few questions actually. Eagles or Steelers defense?
I'm gonna go. Oh gosh, see the Steelers. That you're going to get a couple picks
and sacks.
I'm gonna go with the Eagles, though. I just like them a little bit better. I'm gonna go with the Eagles. I just feel like they're gonna put the squadoosh as far as points are concerned, and they'll be able to force Bryce Young into a few more mistakes. I don't think you can go wrong either way because you're going to get bailed out with picks and sacks, like Rob said. But I'm going to go with the Eagles here.
All right. From a tight end perspective, Juwan Johnson or Pat Freiermuth coming off of a big game?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Juwan. I like him in this one. I think without Taysom Hill there, he's going to absorb all of those tight end catches.
And then finally, leading McConkey if he plays, or would you go with Hopkins?
I'd go with McConkey. He's the clear-cut number 1. It's volume for him. I think he'll be good. And leading up to game, you'll know if he's not good to go, then you got a decent enough option in Hopkins. But I'm going to go McConkey.
All right. Now we are going to go to questions from the Facebook group. Let me share my screen. Give me 1 sec here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. First one up here from Spencer. O'Connell at Tampa, Herbert at the Chiefs, or Murray versus the Seahawks. Pick 2.
Yeah, I wanted to say Herbert and Murray, but I'm going to go with O'Connell and Murray. Initially, I looked at it, and the more I thought about it, I feel like that it's tough because it's the night game, and you want a little bit of that magic with the Herbert and the Chiefs. Murray's a definite at home. Murray's a definite. Go with your gut on the other 2 because I initially wanted to say Herbert, but I kind of want to say O'Connell. But Herbert's been running, and O'Connell will not run at all. So it might be the little bit of edge that you need, but you can throw all over Tampa, and all he's got to do is hit Bowers or Meyer. So I'm going Murray and O'Connell, but if you like Herbert over O'Connell, I don't hate it, but I'm going Murray and O'Connell.
All right. And then Antonio, what's up there, Antonio? Pacheco, Myers, or Mooney PPR?
I just can't trust Kirk Cousins' arm, and it might bite me in the butt here. But you know what? I'm going to go Pacheco. I think Myers is a nice one, PPR, and it might even be safer. But I just feel like Pacheco gets in the end zone twice this week.
Yeah, I would probably go Pacheco in this one. Mooney's been underwhelming. I think I agree with you because of the Kirk Cousins situation. I think the revenge game actually does help a little bit. Mooney may be one of those guys because they're going to try to take Drake London off. Pacheco, is going to start getting the ball more. That they showed the split last week between Kareem Hunt, and I think you're right on, guess, with Pacheco playing some big minutes here. All right, that was the questions from the group. Let's see what we got live here. All right, what's up there, Dylan? Game day. Sorry for the long post. No, post as much as what you want, bud. Full PPR, one quarterback, Carr, AOC, or Rush.
I'm going to go with Rush. I'm going to go for the Monday Night Magic. The Bengals defense can't stop anybody. He has the best wide receiver of all out of the crew. He's got a decent array of 2s and 3s. Ferguson is coming back. They're at home. I'm going to go with Cooper Rush and hope the good times keep rolling.
I agree. I think they're going to try to focus on getting CD the ball early and often, kind of like you were mentioning with Jefferson, getting him going and stuff like that. I could see this being a better CD game, especially against Cincinnati, that they just can't stop a lot of people.
Yeah, and they're also playing against a team with the best offense, and that keeps him involved as a quarterback.
Exactly. All right, next one. One tight end, Juwan, Freiermuth, or Knox? Great question.
I'm going to go with Juwan. It's all about volume here with no Taysom. He's going to absorb all those tight end snaps and targets, and he's been involved even with Taysom there. And I'm going to go with him. I think that Buffalo's got enough options. They don't need to focus too much on getting Knox the ball. I really like Buffalo today to score a ton of points. But and the same with Freiermuth. He's got other options. It's going to be a little bit windy there. I'm going to go with Juwan.
All right, one wide receiver, one flex. Akine, Devonta Smith, Braylon Allen.
Oh, Braylon Allen. It's got to be Braylon Allen. Ikine, we'll see if he keeps it going, but sooner or later he's not going to catch 2 passes, and one of them will be a touchdown. And if it does, it does. But Braylon Allen's going to get a touchdown today on the ground. I'm playing him in all the spots I can. Him, Garendo, and Sharp. They're the 3 like backup guys that are getting the top burn today that you have to get in all your lineups, especially DFS, like I mentioned.
All right, and then one kicker, Richard, Bass, or Dicker.
I'm gonna go with Bass.
Yeah, I think Bass. Yeah.
Inside Los Angeles. Yeah, I'm going with Bass.
All right, and Dylan put Kincaid isn't playing. Keenan is a game time decision. Highest over under today. Only reason I was considering Knox. Thanks.
Yeah, no.
Thank you for watching, bud. Make sure you subscribe.
It's great consideration. I'd have him probably second over Freiermuth, but I'm just going to go with Juwan. The options to throw to for the Saints just are nowhere near as good as the options for Pittsburgh or the options for Buffalo. And with no Taysom Hill there, Juwan was catching, I feel like, 3 or 4 a game, getting that typical 3 or 4 for 30 or 40 with Taysom Hill. And without Taysom Hill, he's just going to get at least 50% more than that. So I think if you get 5 for 60 and a touchdown, I think you'll be elated. So hopefully we at least get close to that. And he looks for him in the end zone. So, and he's back and healthier than he's been all year, these past few weeks. And when your other options are MVS, Bub Means, Mason Tipton, you kind of look for Juwan Johnson. And that's why I'm picking Juwan. And he's one of my prop plays today. So I got to go with him.
Thanks for subscribing and liking. Appreciate it, bud. Tell your friends.
Thank you, bud.
All right, guess.
We did it in under an hour. So we can begin our Sunday holiday family festivities.
Ryan with one. Go Bills.
What's up, Ryan? Where
Hey,
you been, man? We haven't seen you
Hey.
all season.
Playing you this week, bud, and
Uh-oh.
fantasize me. Please do not beat me too bad. All right. Guys, I think that's it. I'm going to wish you the best of luck. It's week 14, make or break week. We'll be here for the playoffs for you guys to be able to help you out. If you have anybody in by Mageddon, Baltimore Ravens, Denver Broncos, Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts, New England Patriots, and the Washington Commanders, make sure they are out of your lineup and you're putting in somebody that guest has recommended. All right. Travel lacrosse. Look at that. It's amazing how the kids, right? I love it. I love it. I got basketball. I'm 4 leagues now with the kids. Unbelievable, man. So
good luck to you both in Fantasize Me. But I think Dynasty I'm going to have to take down this year. So we'll see how everything goes. Best of luck to everybody today. I've got 3 minutes before I start getting in trouble. So ask questions. I'll be looking on my phone throughout the day. But listen, once like 12:30 Eastern time, an hour to a half an hour before game times, please get your question in before that, because after that I'm focusing on my stuff and everything else with the family so I can sit and watch games all day. So please try and ask before noon if you can. Best of luck today, and we'll see you next week.
All right, guys. Best of luck. Peace.
See ya.